That's being sent. Isn't this working? YouTube's up. There's Clifford.
Hello there, Jackson Robinson. How are you?
Hey man, how's it going? It's good to see you again.
Oh boy, were people happy to buy your cards at the
Oh,
convention? They just
well,
flew off the table, man.
that's good to that's good to hear.
I'm sure Justin probably mentioned it already, but hi there.
Yeah,
It's good to see you too.
yeah, yeah. Some of my crew is busy all day today making we have like a little 6 deck set that has all the decks that we made through the series in this little cool drawer box that
That's so cool.
we're hoping to release in the next week or so.
That's great.
That sounds really cool.
Right, let's get this show on the road.
Sorry, I was at the
All right, let's get this show on the road. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Lord of the Rings. We've been doing this show for over 700 episodes. That's right. This is episode 702. This is my longest relationship I've ever had. And I'm proud to say Clifford Broadway is my co-host that shares
it
this
is
time with me.
the longest relationship I've ever had too, but that isn't really saying much, I guess, for my part. But Justin, you know, you are the kidney to my bean. You are the Siskel to my Ebert. You are the tick to my tack. And now with our toe, we actually have our toe joining us, ladies and gentlemen, the third member of our wonderful show to make Tic Tac and Toe a reality. This is the wonderful show where we bring you another interview with a really wonderful artist working really hard in the Middle Earth community and surprising many people with outrageous sales of his Lord of the Rings playing cards at San Diego Comic-Con just a couple of weeks back. Welcome to our show, everyone. Very glad to have you here, Jackson Robinson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, and I think that I'm even better now because I feel like that being called a toe is one of the most flattering things I've ever been called as an artist. So thank you very much.
Which was literally, may the hair on your toes never fall out, is what I was thinking. I was really trying to get to the Thorin bit there, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely sounds like some kind of ode to future health and well-being.
Yes, here to your toes. Well done, sir.
And the
Well
hair
done,
to never fall
everybody.
out.
Oh, by the way,
Justin,
Jackson, I don't know if you saw this, but these are the mugs that we had
uh,
at Comic-Con.
I'm
oh,
so
they're
jealous.
insane.
So you just drink one of those and you're done for the night.
Yeah, pretty much. You can fit a whole 6-pack in this thing. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Everybody in the live chat is going crazy. I want to say hello to the folks that are here from Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, where the book face and the twatter book are all kind of blended into one. I do call it the book face sometimes, or the twatter book. I don't know what to say anymore. But it's now time for all of you folks to get ready and bring your questions and your accolades, of course, to Mr. Jackson Robinson. Justin, didn't we have a blistering experience at this convention with all these people coming to our table to talk about the artwork, the amazing artwork? They were all blown away. And then by that time I whispered those words, we're going to be sold out by tomorrow. We sold
And
even faster. Wasn't it
we did.
crazy?
Look, I got a deck right here, and this
Yeah.
is what people were doing all during Comic-Con. They wanted to see every piece of art
Yeah.
on these cards. And Jackson, you've done Fellowship deck, a Two Towers deck, a Return of the King deck, and you know, we were just talking about before the show went live that you know, we bring thousands of products there, whether it's t-shirts or decks of cards, and but you got to remember, Comic-Con is over 200,000 people, so even if you sell out, you've only touched like 1% of
Yes.
Comic-Con.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, we were just talking before about it's been what almost 20 years since I've been to a Comic Con, and I was like, even then it was huge.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
it
crazy how many
Indeed.
people are there.
Cliff, we were just talking about how you were at Comic-Con when Fellowship and Two Towers was out. I mean, talk about how big Comic-Con was in 2001.
Oh man.
Let me tell you something. Before there was even a Ballroom 20, and nobody had ever dreamed up Hall H, it was just wide open grass. There was nothing next to the convention center. Didn't have that new Hilton built. None of that stuff was there. And what was called Artist's Alley was like this embankment, really, of about 1/3 of the entire exhibit hall. Not just barely a little scratch on the surface like it is now. Back in 2001, I'm telling you folks, it was wonderful to just be able to wander down and be like, oh, Jill Thompson, I love your work with The Sandman. And oh, Brian Azzarello, oh my gosh, I love your comic books that you write. And you'd swing your arm and you would hit editors, writers, and amazing illustrators. Oh, there's the guy Mike Carey, and he's taken over some of these DC Vertigo books. Oh, look, right behind you is the editor-in-chief of DC Vertigo. And you can talk to these people as if they were just salt of the earth, regular folks who are delighted that you're reading their books. They had no idea back then that manga would take over, that the American comic book marketplace would evolve and suffer so badly as it has in the recent year or two, or maybe more. But it's really fascinating what it was like back then. Making our secret plans with Ian McKellen was the most fun we had in that year, 2001. And Jackson, indulge me, you got to hear this. Justin's heard the story already. But when I was working for McKellen.com,
Mm-hmm.
and helping things out on their website, Ian wanted to come through and visit and surprise the fans. And we talked with Keith Stern, his webmaster. We talked with New Line Cinema with our friends Mark Ordesky and Gordon Pattison. And they said, yeah, we can make this happen, but it will barely work unless we're careful, because he was leaving Vancouver. Sir Ian had just finished all the principal photography he was doing with Bryan Singer for the first X-Men film. He had not yet gone over the sea again to New Zealand. So he was in between, transitioning one major film to another major film. And New Line Cinema said, you guys really want to do this and not put it in the programming? And I said to all of them, no, the joy of this is that they'll be there anyways, looking for that early trailer footage to talk about Fellowship. The fandom was rabid for anything they could get their hands on. And so I said, you'll have no problem filling seats. Just let it be a surprise. And we did. And they coordinated with Ian. He got off at the airport, got off the plane at that airport, and came right down to the exhibit hall. And we walked him back up into the room. Justin, it was the same room that you and I were in, 6 BDE, doing our presentation on Sunday with Oscar winner Richard Taylor and all those wonderful folks. So New Line does their shtick. They showed the trailer, you know, the one that broke, you know, the downloads. I think it was Phantom Menace, episode 1, that really broke the QuickTime download record. We all know
The
that.
QuickTime download.
So you remember that, you know? So
Yep.
here's the end of the story. Audience is revved up. Gordon Pattison is talking to them. And then the head guy from Comic-Con says, ladies and gentlemen, you know, we just have something very, very special for you to do. And backstage, Ian was going like this. He was just, his energy, his choice of outfit, his energy. I mean, being in between major plane rides from one big production to another, but he went right out there, and you've never heard a gale of whooping, hollering, laughter, shouts of joy. You've never heard an explosion of people doing that than at that moment when he came out. And they had yet to see a lick of footage of him as Gandalf, because he had yet to go down there and film any of it. That's why
Yeah.
they had no Gandalf footage to show. He hadn't even gone down there.
Yeah.
And they had already been 1 month into shooting some things. But Ian wasn't there yet. They had to really twist everything around at the New Zealand production timeline to accommodate him finishing his work with Bryan Singer. So that's how it all went down. But that 2001 moment when the fans blew up, I've never heard anything like it until Oscar night, when The Return of the King won Best Picture. And then there was another gale of screaming, laughing, whooping and hollering like you wouldn't believe. That's the only comparable moment.
You
But
know, in the
I'll
in the
never,
wrestling
ever
biz,
forget.
Cliff, we call that a pop.
That was a pop. Yes, the kayfabe is real. Let me tell you. Yes.
Well, look,
That's
we're
awesome.
already getting a ton of comments in the chat room, and we're watching you guys on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. Thank you for joining us. But there's been a bunch of comments about how do you buy these cards I just showed. Well, we're going to get into that right now because, Jackson, you've got a brand new deck of Lord of the Rings cards that you're debuting today, and you put them on Kickstarter. Let me see if I can bring
Yep.
that up. So talk to us. Like what?
Oh yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah, I've, I have so far, it's been, I mean, time has flown by, since I started doing the Lord of the Rings stuff. Man, it's been 2016, 17 when I just started working on my original the Fellowship of the Ring deck. And we had really good success for all three of those decks that we did on Kickstarter. And I have a long history on Kickstarter, and I'm kind of like in a transition period, uh, getting, finishing up Return of the King, and not quite ready with all of the mountain of work that I'm doing for another deck for a story that you might have heard of called The Hobbit, and so I'm kind of in this transition period, but I have all these like the Lord of the Rings ideas that I've kind of like been hitting around, and in the Return of the King project, I had this kind of harebrained idea almost kind of at the last minute to imagine these national park patches that we also made like shirts with, and it was like, Mount Doom State Park or Mount Doom National Park, and just imagining it through the window of if like you and I are, we're on our summer break from school and we're going on vacation, and Dad's going to take us on a road trip to Mount Doom National Park. And that's just kind of where the idea started. And we made I think we made 6 or 7 patches. We designed and made 6 or 7 patches in that project, and they were actually, met with really great, people really responded well with them, both the hats and shirts that we made and the patches. And so I was like, man, and that's something else that I've always loved, just growing up from like the Works program posters from like the 40s and the coming after the Great Depression, with like the national parks and those kind of like really iconic posters. And also, I remember going to like NASA Space Center when I was a kid. And did you guys collect those like pennants
Oh yeah,
that you would put on
totally.
the,
And
you know what I'm
not
talking about?
not just the pennants and like the the pointy flags, but going to Disneyland. Disneyland made like
Oh yeah.
inspirational national park posters for all of their lands, and it was incredible.
And so in my room when I was
Yeah.
a kid, I remember because like the top foot of the top of my room was just lined with those pennants. And if you're not old like me, and probably us, a pennant is just a big long triangle shaped flag that's basically a felt patch. And it's like got Grand Canyon and stuff like that, and also with those posters. And I remember getting like patches from like the Kennedy Center and stuff like that. And so that kind of like nostalgic, the nostalgic time when you actually took road trips, and you fought with your family for 12 hours driving across the country or something like that. That's just kind of what spurred this of like, okay, let's take this idea that I had with the patches and go even further. And also I was kind of with the 3 decks, I was kind of like I had a limited amount of space because I had X number of cards and I can only do 12 court cards and stuff like that. And so I couldn't really, and they were all character driven and they weren't really like location or like geography driven. And that's what really interested me about this project was this definitely wasn't a character driven kind of like work, and it was more of like the places and the geography, and I was able to like think about those types of things because I've drawn 2 or 3 Middle Earth maps in my time, and like things like uh, you know the tobacco fields, what do those look like, and because those were little things that I would put on the maps and stuff like that. And I always thought about like, what do all these places look like that you may have not seen in a movie, or they didn't really picture in the movies or or any kind of illustrations. And so it was a fun exercise and just like dipping into the nostalgia, inkwell, but also like getting to do all these new things with Middle Earth. And that's kind of where it came. And that's
Cliff,
kind of where it,
Cliff, Tolkien stories always start with a map, but has any of the classic Tolkien map books from Karen Fonstad or whatever her name was, did anyone like map out the unfamiliar places, as Jackson was just saying, the tobacco fields and things like that? Has anyone
Yeah,
mapped that out
yes, her
before?
name was Karen Fonstad. Actually, I just got in touch with her a family connection, her son, who was delighted to learn that the interview I did with her before she died, was actually published in a book because they were under the unfortunate misunderstanding of thinking that interview with her was never ever published. And I told them good news, it actually was published, and I just sent a courtesy copy in the mail to Karen Fonstad's family and her son so that they can have a nice read through of what her mom was feeling and thinking about her great career. She is the first name in cartography that comes to mind when you're doing big fantasy worlds, and you wanted back then a real professional cartographer. But the speculations about far and distant lands like the Red Mountains, the Orocarni, that are supposed to be way further out east of Rune, and Rune is just the Elvish word for east, anyways. But only when some of the other works were posthumously published, when the Silmarillion came out, then there were some corrections and to the ideas that map makers and artists and painters have been playing with. And Jackson, you might also be, like us, old enough to remember what a stock change there was in academic understanding of Tolkien when the Silmarillion was published in the late 70s. Same year that Star Wars A New Hope came out was the same year that Silmarillion was released. And suddenly people were redrawing their ideas of the land and even the great mythical cosmology of the planet of Arda, and their ideas were really shifting around because Tolkien had yet to put on to the published page something that everybody in the world could read about his creations and his ideas. But Jackson, you were like so many others, probably just redrawing and thinking, "Oh gosh, here's new information. Now we know that Valinor looked a little bit differently before the fall of Numenor, and what those differences were, and how all the other sundering seas destroyed all of Beleriand. I don't know how quickly or slowly that flooding happened, but then you had the coast going all the way up to the Blue Mountains, and suddenly that's what was left of Middle Earth, because after the War of Wrath, so much of it was sunk under the waves and destroyed, and then Numenor was risen up and raised as a gift to be given to the men of Numenor. So all these radical changes in how we understood geography, it only kept changing the more posthumous books were published. Like other things in the History of Middle Earth series also changed our noggins and our understanding of how the topography was changing. And I salute you, Jackson, for even trying.
Well,
Just to try it.
I think the good thing for me is that just the limits of my license keep me with not having to dive into so much of that stuff that it's probably good for me and my sanity that I don't have to do all that. But I do remember at least my introduction to like Lord of the Rings when I was a kid was very much with the trilogy first. And even though the Silmarillion and stuff like that was out, I was introduced to it with the trilogy. And then when I stumbled across things like the Silmarillion and like looking at these different maps, and I'm like, there were lots of times where I would tear out pages of the maps and like look at Arda or something like that and trying to see, okay, this coast is this new coast here. And I remember doing that
Yeah,
and just racking my brain to try to figure out what was what.
me too. Me too. I had old like maps. One was done by Barbara Remington. She had done a map, and she did those weird, covers, the paperback covers that have like weird emus walking
Yeah.
around and
Yeah.
a weird salamanders in the river and all these crazy images. There was also a map done by, like the ultimate map we all talk about now is the one done by the guy at Weta. What's his name? Daniel Reeve, who did a lot of calligraphy and did the
Hmm.
maps for Weta, and they're all used in relation with the packaging, the DVD and the VHS packaging of New Line
Well,
films.
Cliff, I wanted to keep your memory fresh because, as far
Mm,
as I know,
trying.
the King's Wild and Jackson's effort to make merch around places is the first time I can remember of doing that. I don't remember anyone focusing on locations like this,
Hmm.
like where the location is the thing.
I don't know. I mean, I mean, for me, it was just something that was interesting. And I think that that's probably one of the reasons why I was gravitated towards it. Not so much that I, did a bunch of research, but I don't remember seeing anything. I've seen stuff in the ether that's similar to it, but just from my own personal kind of like journey with it, and as a project, you know, it's just something that I hadn't seen that was very different than stuff that I had been doing of just, straight up character design and just drawing the characters. And so at least that for me was what was really refreshing for me.
When you're working on these new cards coming out, which I'm really, really excited about. I'm a big national parks guy, and I have the famous board game Parks, which is a great game, and they got some really interesting artists to do like lithograph style images and portraits of each national park on these big, big, oversized playing cards. You could
Hmm.
call them tarot size cards because they're really
Right.
larger format cards. But this is exciting. I'm
So,
so
but
down to see what creativity you've come up with for some of these place names and locations in your
Yeah.
card
everyone in the
deck.
chat
I'm
room is
so
talking
excited.
about this puzzle, and people are like, "It comes in a puzzle." Yes, it's
Oh
like it
yeah.
comes
By
in
the way,
pints. It comes in a puzzle.
people
It comes in
people
pints.
are
Well,
really into your puzzles. Yes.
it's kind of a two-edged sword, I guess you could say. The deck of cards, the artwork that's on the deck of cards is like those kind of works program national park puzzles. I mean, national park posters from like the
Yeah.
40s. And then what's on the puzzle itself is the embroidered patches. Now listen, and because I've already got tons of message about this, they're not real embroidered patches. I don't have all these embroidered patches ready to send to you. But what's on the puzzle are the embroidered patches that you would get like at a national park. Uh,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
and that's one things that we would always do, and that's what my kids do now. Is anytime we go to a national or a state park, we're going to the gift shop to buy firewood and some patches. So it's different. It's like it's the nostalgia of both the worlds. It's the patches and also the posters.
I love it. It's so cool. The Kirith Ungol State Park. You're just killing me. You're
Well,
killing me, Larry. I
you
love it.
mentioned licensing and rights, and as far as we know, the Silmarillion and all the other books that Cliff was talking about have never been
Never.
merchandised at all. So the
Nope.
only thing that Tolkien ever sold away were the merchandising rights to The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So the question is, uh,
Correct.
did you have any creative limits on coming up with all of these different patches and place names for national parks, or are all of these just mentioned in the
These
Lord of
are
the Rings?
these are all, there's nothing, I don't want to like oversell my knowledge of the lore, because talking with you guys, I definitely feel like that I'm in, I feel like I'm on the JV, I guess you could say. But like, there's nothing really on this, on in these locations that's not very obscure. Like, it's not going to be a thing of like, past the Sea of New Rune and across, turn left at the rock, and there's this spot. Most of the stuff that's on here is mentioned, and it's definitely in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Uh, and I want to say I'd have to go back because there's almost like 92 patches. I'd have to go back, and I want to say there there might not even be anything from The Hobbit in here. It could just be uh things from the Lord of the Rings. There may be a little bit of a spillover like the Shire and stuff like that, but mostly everything in here is from the trilogy, and that's it. Because my license is very, very straight, and I like to stay right in that lane.
Absolutely. It looks like we have some winners in our chat who won some decks.
Sweet.
That's
That just
awesome.
happened.
That's happening. Yeah, if you guys aren't chatting on YouTube, YouTube is where all the action is happening.
Yes,
but
it's in the YouTube chat
that,
specifically.
that's the puzzle. It's on a reward tier on Kickstarter. I'll put the Kickstarter link in the chat right now. But then we got
This
the
is so
National
sweet.
Park decks, and let's see, we've got
And
look at the
just
aces.
to kind of like preface the cards, one of the things that having a character based deck of cards, yes, that's more traditional where you have king, jack, and queen. Uh, I was really limited in terms of like, usually when I do a deck of cards, I only have 12 slots. You have the 12 court cards, so you kind of have to like pick those. But with so many, I did a national park deck for it's not a national park in Ohio called Hawking Hills, and it was a thing where every card, not just the court cards, were images of the park. And I also have lots of old like national park or railroad decks of cards from like the early 1900s, where they'll have like a souvenir railroad line, and they have vignettes along the railroad, and it's all 52 cards. And so with this, because it wasn't character driven, I was a little bit more free to say, hey, let's not just do 12. Let's try to make every card in the deck something else. That way I could do things like, farmer maggots, fields, or the, old Toby, the pipeweed tobacco fields, or, all the different things that you know of that aren't really that obscure, that I wasn't able to do because I was in a, only having to stick to 12 characters. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. It totally makes sense. The the illustrations are just so good. I mean, look at this king queen jack. How do you determine which place gets which suit?
Well, the way that I was trying to figure out, the way that I tried to divide it was like the spades. The spades were like a lot of the heroic places. So you have like the Shire, the Shire and Bag Inn. I was trying to give those kind of things the spades because the highest, and then you have Edoras. And then I tried to keep like out in all of my other Lord of the Rings decks, a lot of the villains, or the evil or the dark, whatever you want to call it, they were the clubs. So like in my other decks, Sauron was clubs, Saruman was clubs, Theoden was clubs. And so like I put the clubs with the evil. So you have Barad-dûr, you have Mount Doom, you have Orthanc, and all that kind of stuff. And then I tried to put the major places in the court cards, so the Jack, Queen, and Kings, and then just filled in everything else where I felt like it worked. But and honestly, another thing is I got a lot of feedback from the Middle Earth, Middle Earth proper, of saying like, hey, we think that these cards might work together. And more often not, you know, when I come back and like take their feedback, I'm like, oh yeah, that works a lot better. And so a lot of, you know, some of those things got shuffled around, and that's kind of how the kind of the Plinko chips fell into the place.
Yeah, there's a
The
lot of
price is
mountains in
right.
the diamonds. Why are there mountains in all the diamond cards?
Well, let me see. I have to go look at them too on my screen. Well, there's lots of mountains in Middle Earth. uh, and it's
Cliff,
just, you know,
tell
it's
me
just
more about these mountains. Are they lonely?
they're very lonely mountains. And it's and also, you know, just like compositionally for some reason, mountains are mountains are easy to draw and to create a composition that work well on a tall thing, because you can make like a valley. And so a lot of the mountains have like a valley and a river going through the middle, or a path or something like that.
There's a comment in the chat room. This would actually complement the set that I got that has Alan Lee's Return of the King art on them.
Well, I don't want to I don't want my art to be put anywhere close to Alan Lee's artwork. So I'm going from JV to the middle school team.
Let's see, and we got and then the hearts here. Some interesting things going on with the heart. They're all kind of like very, very magical places, right? The white city of Gondor, the white tree, the you know, the Arkenstone. Yeah.
One of my favorite ones is I don't know why, I just like it. I guess it was because I thought I was really creative with the name, but it's the Osgiliath State Memorial Park.
Where's
It's
that?
the Ten of Hearts.
Oh,
And it's I think it's the only memorial park that I've got in there.
Cliff, I think you're muted. Okay, I can't hear you, Cliff.
Is that better? Yeah. Hey, I
You've been
see
muted a while here. Join the conversation, Cliff. What are you thinking?
This is, you know what? There's a magic button on my Yeti blue microphone, and every time I press it, it turns on auto mute. I didn't realize that. Well, I'm delighted by all these shiny things. I'm like any magpie. I'm easily distracted by sparkling, shining things. But the the great tip of the hat to you know, our boys of Ithilien who died trying to defend Osgiliath. It's really nice to make it a memorial park for them. But that's for our Ithilien Rangers and our boys who didn't make it.
Cliff, I got a question for you. What are your top 3 Middle Earth locations?
Let's see. My my very top 3 favorite, all-time favorite Middle Earth locations.
Yeah.
Really, that's, oh my God, Sophie's
And
choice.
because I want to see what
Sophie's
importance
choice,
they are placed.
Great. Now you're putting me on the spot. It's gonna be like the tour
Okay.
clubs or something.
All right. One of the all-time favorite places would probably be Imladris. I love Rivendell and everything about it. I would be happy always staying on the west side of the mountains. You don't need to send me over to Rovanien. I'm happy in Eriador. I'm happy hanging out with hobbits and stone trolls and elves. I'm really, so yeah, let's check out Imladris, because
Is
I love it.
Imladris in this deck?
Let me see.
Is Rivendell? There it is.
Yeah, it's
Just
King. I think
of
it's the
Diamonds.
King of Hearts. I think
Is
it's
it King of Diamonds?
King of Diamonds. Yeah, King of
There
Diamonds.
it is. Beautiful. I love that. It's
All
so
right.
great.
You
right.
lucked out on that one. King of Diamonds. That's a pretty high ranking card there.
All right, let's just stop there. Let's just not
Yeah,
go to the other
okay.
two.
Game
That was my
game
first-
done.
Just leave the room while everybody's laughing.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I mean, it's hard to come up with your top 3 places. One of them I've always wanted to go out and see is actually I want to go to the very southeastern stretches of Mordor,
Here we
where
go.
they had, the inland sea of Nern. And
No, I don't have that one.
don't have Nern, okay?
No, I don't have Nern.
And because
Relax,
you
relax.
wondered how did they feed the armies? What kind of dry land farming was
That's
instituted
a
by
type of
Sauron
story that
down there?
Rings of
I always
Power should
wondered.
tell.
Yes.
The Rings of Power
Yeah.
should be showing how they set
They
up the
should.
industrialized farming to feed
Yes.
the armies of Mordor. Rings of Power, if you're
Yeah.
watching, that's
Yeah.
what we want to
Yeah.
see.
Season
That's
3,
interesting.
agricultural tips from the Sea of.
From the Sea of Nirnen or whatever.
Uh,
And then I think my third favorite place would be Dol Amroth, where the prince of Dol Amroth comes from. I just love that because we've never seen it visualized. It's never been on any TV show.
I think I do have a.
You have a Dol Amroth because that'd
In
be
the
so
puzzle,
cool.
I've got a Dol Amroth. I
I
think it's
love it.
towards. I'm trying to remember. It's towards the top of the puzzle, I think.
With the patches. I love that. Okay, that's cool.
Let me see if I
Right,
can
well
find
done.
it. But
Yeah, but Imladris, King of Diamonds, is fantastic.
Well, that's good. That was a great choice. Jackson, on the design of his cards, you've got the artwork in the middle and then a white border. Why not go full bleed? Have you learned something designing all these other card sets that you've done about when to use borders and when to just go full to the edge?
Definitely. I think, because I'm designing a deck of playing cards, there is a functionality aspect to it to where I still want for it to be an actual functioning deck of cards. And you can do full bleed on the faces. But once you do full bleed, you really have to you have to really make it a point to make it where you can see the index numbers or the letters. But at the same time, a lot of it was just me having this picture in my head of my own experiences with like state park decks or souvenir decks from like the early 1900s. And, this plays very much into those kind of like design rules that all those little souvenir state park decks have, even to the point to where I kind of had to search, but I was able to actually find the font that they use on that they used on all the old Works program posters, and also the same font that they use at the for the national parks. And I wanted, and a lot of times when you go full bleed, you lose the ability to put the words on there of the locations, and especially if it's not a place that people haven't seen. It may be some remote place in my head, but having the white border allows me to put the words on there so that the connections for people, this is the Shire or whatever, it makes it happen a lot quicker so that they can make that connection better.
Yeah.
Cliff,
really cool.
Cliff had a home run with that King of Diamonds, but I got to tell you, the prancing pony being
Historic
a two of spades.
Why are you putting me on the hot seat, man?
But the two of spades, like, do you know that we went to Comic-Con with the prancing pony
I know
booth
this.
at Middle Earth? This thing, where it comes in pints, and you made it a two?
Yeah, you're showing me that thing. You're making me jealous again that I don't have one of those cool things.
Let me ask you
so
that.
funny.
Let me ask you this, because we've been debating. Cliff and I have been debating. What would you pay for a mug like this?
Does it have liquid in it or no liquid? I would pay. Is it made of wood?
It
Does
is
it
made
fit?
of wood and
It
leather.
is handmade of wood and leather, and
I'd pay 30 or 40 bucks for that. At least.
Right?
Okay.
And another 30 or 40 for the liquid inside, right?
Absolutely. And then 30, 40 for the ride home that you're going to need.
Yeah, absolutely.
The prancing
so
pony.
funny.
So I gotta say, what would like the two, the prancing ponies too. I'm gonna give you credit here because it's the first location that the hobbits visit, right after they leave the Shire in the movies. So 2 is your starting point on the deck. I'll give you that. If you're going chronologically to the book,
That's what I was thinking. That's exactly
yeah.
what
Okay.
Yes. skipping all of Tom Bombadil and the Barrow Downs and the Old Forest. Oh
Yeah.
wait, that's it. Let me ask
I
you
do
now.
have a Old Man
The
Willow
Old
in
Forest. Do you have an Old Forest card?
there. I've got an
in the
Old Man
set?
Willow in there somewhere.
Yeah,
Oh,
Old
yeah,
Forest
Old
is
Man
right here.
Willow.
Look at that. The 5 of Hearts is in the Old Forest.
Beautiful. That's perfect, my dude. Jackson Robinson, you have won my heart and my imagination yet again, sir. 5 of
And-
Hearts.
And
Here's
there's
your Old Forest.
an even cooler. I think I don't know if you can see it from the pictures that I've got on there.
Was it nice to do a departure from the specific, medieval stained glass looking things that you were doing on the other card designs?
Yes,
Was it nice to have an artistic
uh,
break?
Yes, absolutely. You know, for sure. And it's also like, you know, you don't have all the preconceived, well, you have a little bit of the preconceived kind of ideas that people have, but I think that the leniency for what I could do was a lot better because, it's a lot different than, oh, here I'm drawing Frodo or I'm just making a patch that represents this place. So there's I think a lot more leniency.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Totally.
Well, you know what?
There's a bunch of
with
UK people in the chat room wondering, do you
Yes,
ship
there are.
these worldwide?
We do ship them worldwide. I'm gonna preface that I am basically a one-man show, and so shipping is expensive, but I do ship worldwide. I've shipped worldwide since the beginning, and I'm using the new Kickstarter Pledge Manager, which I haven't used before, and where the shipping is calculated after the fact and stuff like that. But yes, the answer is yes. The short answer.
That's great. And
Very
you
good.
just launched this today, and let me bring this up on screen. Guys,
Wow.
you're already 5
Wow.
times your goal.
Isn't that great?
I'm always, I'm always very, very, what's the word? Humbled just at the support of, the Tolkien community and the people that love these stories, especially with these stories that, every one of my projects thankfully have been met with, great support. And so even if we stopped it now, I'd be totally happy and, incredibly grateful for all the support.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's incredible. You're just a few hours in, and you're already 5 times your goal, and
And at the same time, like one thing that was refreshing for this project compared to the other ones is with the other projects, we had lots of stuff. Like we had a lot of different editions and stuff like that. And one of the things with this is I really, this was as much of a vacation for me as it was anything else, where I really wanted just to keep it simple to where I had, basically 2 products, the puzzle and the deck of cards, without all of this other kind of like, all these other details and nuanced stuff that really make production, a force multiplier in production. So it's been really nice, and it's been a good change, just making it a lot simpler.
do you think that let me bring it
Yeah.
up on screen. The thing that people responded to at Comic-Con, especially, you'll always hear about at Comic-Con, did you get the Comic-Con exclusive? Did you go to the Lego booth and get the exclusive that they only released for the first hour every morning, and they only limited to 300 copies of, or
Yeah.
did you go to Yesterday's and get the exclusive Star Trek pin that was only available, or did you go get the little plushy garbage thing on fire from 100% soft?
Yes.
And but then when you go to get these exclusives, what they don't tell you is that the things are like $80.
Yeah.
All of those exclusives that people talk about, they're expensive. I mean, there were a ton of great stuff that I wanted at Comic-Con this year that was like
Oh, yeah.
$150. And
Yeah.
then they come to the One Ring booth that you've so wonderfully supported over the last few years. And look at these prices on this Kickstarter, guys. It's $14 for a deck of cards. It's $24 for the premium edition. And it's only $24 for the puzzle.
Yeah, and the first puzzle that I made was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and just the relationships that I've built over those years with manufacturers and stuff. I remember when I made my very first puzzle, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had to charge a lot more because I didn't know what I was doing. And so definitely I've been able to like bring the production cost a lot down, especially on the puzzles. But I totally know what you mean. Like you go to a con to get an exclusive thing, and it's $150, and there's 12 different exclusive things that you want.
Yeah, that's why Comic-Con's so expensive. Never
Yeah,
mind the
yeah.
$500 tickets and the $2,000 hotel rooms. You're spending thousands of dollars just getting the exclusives. So, these are incredible. Can you tell us what's more popular as far as sales? Is it the standard edition or the foil edition with the gilded edition? I guess you're calling here.
I mean, there I kind of have two different audiences that kind of back my projects. I have the people that are the Lord of the Rings fans, and then I just have the playing card collectors that have been following me and collecting my stuff since before I even started doing Lord of the Rings stuff. And so, you know, I mean, even if you just look at the backer numbers, the most popular is that that $48 tier where you get a puzzle and you get a gilded deck as well. And just from the backer numbers, that's the one that's the most popular. But in terms of like if it's just playing cards, you know, you have different types of people that like the gilded edges, and that's the foiling around the edges. It's just kind of whatever your druthers are on what you want.
You know, the box of these cards remind me of Jellystone National Park. Yogi Bear.
Yeah.
Yogi Bear. You know, these are incredibly reasonable prices. And
I appreciate that. That's good.
This is one of the best price points that I've seen for something like this. And I'm one of those guys who's always on Kickstarter supporting board games, because a lot of board game publishers are finding that using crowdfunding like this is a great way to mitigate some of the real wobbly uncertainties that are currently existing in the board game market because of tariffs, increasing the probability of strange costs being added on when materials for most board games are made in China or other places. And then, but you know, a company like Ravensburger, for example, their company is based in Germany, but they don't produce their games in Germany. They have their designers in Seattle. Wait a minute, a German company, but they have all American designers in Seattle? Well, there's a third piece to that global trade puzzle, and it's the actual printing of their puzzles and board games. They're printed in China. So we're looking at Germany, America, China, and all these different things that happen in the trade, in the world of, you know, getting a product designed and made and then getting it printed and into the hands of the people. So that global trade route is going to be all wobbly and weird. But now you have an advantage because aren't you printing directly in America your cards?
No, I actually don't print in America. I print my playing cards and my puzzles in China. And I will say this, I have built the absolute best relationship with the factory that prints my playing cards and my puzzles, and they print both. And that's one of the reasons why the relationship is so good. And the crazy thing about what they do is they have treated me better than any company I've ever worked with before. And they let me do like if I've got an idea, like a crazy idea or something like that I've got, you know, usually they're like, usually companies will be like, oh, we can't do that. But if I have a crazy idea of like a box or something, and I can sketch it up and build a prototype, and then they'll have me a sample like in a week. Like here's an example of like something crazy. This is a Robin Hood deck that I did. And this
my gosh. I want that.
Now you're talking. It's Justin's
not a tarot
language.
Deck. It's not a tarot deck, but it's a tarot size deck.
Yeah,
but this is a good example of what I'm talking about, where you open up the box like this, and then when you open it, it pulls the deck out like that.
No way. How cool is that?
So like things like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have them made in the United States, but it would be something that it would just take too long. And I'm such a small company that, you know, and also a very unorganized artist that I have to be really nimble about just the things that I create. And also
That's
I
so
I got to
cool.
bite when the fire's hot with me, just inspirationally. And so like with stuff like that, I can like have an idea and I can go to them and they can have something tangible back to me to where I can like start actually designing stuff for like final art. And it's the same thing with this
Oh, and
puzzle.
that's called the Longbow Edition, right?
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you
called
for
the Longbow Edition.
the
And
chat.
like here's the puzzle. And the cool thing about the puzzle is like I would do puzzles with my wife and we'd always fight over who had the box top to see the picture. And so like every puzzle you get two of the prints of the puzzle to look at, and then you get like a little the canvas bag with the puzzles in it. I'll show you one of the puzzle pieces. You know, and they're really nice too.
That's fabulous.
If I can get it to
Really
focus, not on
fabulous.
my ugly face.
You know what? That reminds me of the folks who make dragon dice.
Mhm.
They have a little private mom and pop company.
Yeah.
They bought the license of the game from Wizards of the Coast because
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast was about to be absorbed by Hasbro.
Yeah.
Hadn't happened yet, but they were no longer supporting the game, and a bunch of fans, just like fans of Lord of the Rings, just got together in their garage with some startup capital, and they bought the rights to the game, but they also got into a long-standing relationship with a manufacturer in China because making dice molds is a really expensive,
Yeah.
costly bit of business, and that really affects your end product and how you can price. What you were selling was a game, a lot like Magic the Gathering, but it wasn't using playing cards. They
Right.
were little sized, different polyhedral dice,
Yeah.
and the dice represented the creatures and the dragons out on the field of battle. And you were rolling a lot of dice instead of playing cards. But still, they had, and they say the same thing, and I've talked to them recently over Gen Con weekend, which was a big weekend for gamers and the gaming world. I talked to these people and they said, we have the best relationship with our Chinese manufacturer. They can keep costs down for us to make expensive dice molds, which is some kind of injection plastic.
Yeah.
And it's a wild piece of machinery, way more crazy than printing a deck of cards. But I appreciate you saying that you have a strong business relationship, and that helps make everything easier from you executing concepts and getting them in hand to keeping prices down on the end for your retailer. I mean, for your customers. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm blessed to say that I have an advantage, the fact that, you know, I'm the artist and also the owner of the company, to where a lot of like playing card companies would have to hire, like contract an artist to do all the artwork. And so a lot of that production price is going to get eaten up in like the design fee. But I don't have to worry about that because, you know, I'm doing both. I get to do the design work and get to absorb that cost. And so that's another reason why it helps me make it more realistic to keep the doors open as just a business, especially when I'm small like I am.
Well, the chat room is really responding
on.
to the puzzles. You got some girls that are fangirling over the puzzle.
Yes. Monica knows what she likes with these puzzles and tabletop games. Me too. I'm all about this. This is the coolest thing, Jackson.
So this is
it's so cool.
You smashed through your original goal today. You've got 24 days to go. What do we look like for shipping this out? Will I get them before Christmas?
Relax. This I think this will be my 40. I want to say 42nd or 43rd. I can't remember how many Kickstarters, but I've learned I am definitely the guy that is going to what's the phrase, under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
I'd like to be as realistic as I can. I think that the delivery date on all these is in May next year, and I know that's a long time away.
Okay.
But that's when travel season starts, and I only start thinking about national parks in May.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, I'll have them way before May, but I would rather have them way before May and deliver early on my Kickstarter, because that's something else I've really worked hard out of all the Kickstarters that I've done. There's maybe been one or two that I've even been late on the estimated delivery date on. And so the delivery date's May, but at the same time, you know, like I said, my factory's great, and but I'm not going to promise anything, especially not by Christmas.
It says,
My gosh.
look at this on Kickstarter right here. I brought it up on screen. It says 47 campaigns created. This is number 47. You're getting close to 50. Are you going to
Yep.
do anything big for
Wow.
your 50th campaign?
That's
I didn't even think about it.
Because Bilbo doesn't leave his house until he's 50 years old. There's something very Tolkien about the
man.
50 year
Yeah.
50, you
It's
know.
a magic number, really.
And I don't know, but I may turn 50 right about at the same time too. So
Oh my God. Oh my God. Jackson Robinson, ladies and gentlemen, he has a magic portrait in his attic absorbing his age.
Yeah,
So we
it
all
sounds
know
like
about that.
it sounds like I need to get one of those big mugs.
Can you help us run this Kickstarter?
I will totally help you run that Kickstarter.
That's so great. You know what? I must congratulate you, Jackson. You have captured the attention of the audience, that's for sure. So congratulations on what you're doing with these numbers. And
It's
you
just
know, I
it's
say-
just
I
huge,
say
man.
it's
Like
great.
to
It's great.
smash through your goal with a reasonably
is.
priced product, especially in this current time that we're living in, and just having a nice affordable product, and it's games that you can
Yeah.
play with your family. It feels
Absolutely.
like everything that you've done is focused around group gaming.
Yeah.
You're not pitching these as like
Oh, the
solitaire.
numbers just went up. You just got another one.
Yeah, right.
You just got another backer just now. The numbers changed.
Yeah. Hey,
But
do you think they want to see those things that I showed you earlier, Justin?
You know, I didn't want to put you on the spot, but
Ooh.
there are
You
some
were all
shiny
taunting
things
your
in the
big
background.
mug. You were taunting your big mug.
All right, you
Yeah,
got something
show
to
us.
compare? You got
Let's
something to
show
compare?
us.
Yeah, I got something to compare.
I want
So
to see this. What's
so
up?
for my Two Towers and the Fellowship of the Ring deck, when I was drawing like Strider and then also Gandalf, I designed my own Anduril and also Glamdrin. And I had an actual swordsmith that I'm friends with actually make my
Wow.
Anduril and Glamdrin. I'll show it to you.
Okay. Totally cool.
And it's the same one that's on the cards.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, how many people
Oh
in the
my
world have
dude.
an actual sword of their rendition of a Tolkien sword?
Gosh, that's so cool. My dude.
So this is Glamdrin, and this is not. I'll see if I can do it without looking like a complete fool. But this
Oh my
is not your
gosh.
mom's. This is not your mom's sword.
Oh no, he's slicing up post-its with the sword, my dude.
So that's Glamdrin.
That is
and this is
so
the,
great. That is so great.
this is
Wow.
my Anduril right here.
No way. Wow. Look at the pommel. That work on the pommel is really beautiful, my friends.
So it's
Look
leather
at that.
and also
Wow.
wood and then brass.
I am blown away. Look at that.
And then the way you probably can't see it, but the way that I'm gonna zoom in, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
The way that they sanded it, the grinding marks go up the blade like if it's the flames.
Nice. Oh, I
guess
can
you can't
see.
it.
No, I saw at the bottom. You can see the brush strokes. Holy
Sorry.
Toledo.
Sorry about my bad camera work.
No, it's brilliant, my dude. That's brilliant.
Wow, the
Well
the
done.
chat room is blown up. Like this list is short of people that have their own Tolkien swords.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. That you designed yourself. Man, color me impressed.
And those are the swords that are on if you look at the deck of cards, those are the swords that are on the cards with like Aragorn, and then, and then Elisar, and then also with Glamdrin with Gandalf.
And now, can
So
people still
freaking
buy
cool.
those cards?
Yeah, all 3 decks are available on my website.
And that's King's Wild Project. I'm going to put that in the chat room.
Yep.
Yes, King's
KingsWildProject.com.
Wild Project.
Kingswildproject.com. and you've got the Lord of the Rings playing cards. You got Return of the King right there. The foil ones, guys. I
Perfect.
recommend the foil editions.
Yeah, they're
they
great.
just
They're-
look so good. Cliff, you saw them at Comic-Con, didn't you?
I did, and I held them in my dirty, sticky paws. And I loved the people wanted to go straight to the court cards. So we did a table spread. We put all the numerical suits in one area, and we laid out the court cards, and people just stood there gasping. And then what would they inevitably do? What? I'll buy them. I'll buy all three.
Yeah.
And you'd show them, look, the binding does volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and they look like the colors of the original DVDs. And
Yes.
they'd be like, what? No, I'm buying all three. So that happened so often. It was great.
Yeah.
Incredible work, and you've got this beautiful for product photography on your website. Again, King's Wild project to pick up to pick up the sets. Yeah, we've got the national parks live today. This is the first day. Jackson, how important is it to the algorithm for people to get these today?
Good
Algorithm
question.
is a very big word for me, but it's important for it today. But at the same time, it's any support is very welcome, and so the more we can get the first day, the better it is for the algorithm. But at the same time, just being able to keep doing this for a living that's really all I care about. So
that's great. That's great.
I love it.
Hey guys,
I love it.
before we let everybody go, this has been an amazing conversation about the new national park cards. We got a couple news announcements, Cliff, because we do like to give everybody the latest news. So Rings of Power Season 3 is filming right now in Old Windsor Park. And it's out in the open, guys. You can go on a nature walk and actually see the Lord of the Rings set right now.
Wow.
If you're in England near Old Windsor Park, hop on your bike, bring a long lens, and go ahead and send us some photos, please, because they've got stacks of wooden deer filling out the landscape. They're doing stuff.
That's cool. Very cool.
We've got
where's the place again where we should go wandering?
Old
Windsor.
Windsor Park. It's in
Windsor
Old
Park.
Windsor,
Okay.
where Windsor Castle is, where the king lives when he's not at the main palace.
Buckingham. Yeah.
We've also got a video of Jamie
that's
Campbell
cool.
Bower, who is the biggest star to join Rings of Power. And let me see if I can bring
There he
this
is.
up full screen.
JCB in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm having fun.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I like it very much. It's a beautiful show. It's an amazing thing to be a part of. I'm having fun.
I'm so
Good.
Thank you. I like it very much. It's a beautiful show. It's an amazing thing to be a part of.
Cliff,
There he is. Your first look at Celeborn, ladies and gentlemen. There he is in the flesh.
you're not
husband.
confirming that, are you, Cliff?
I'm not confirming it. I'm just saying, you know what? Duh. Read the tea leaves. Read the tea leaves, man.
Is that
It's gotta be
the
Celeborn.
voice of Celeborn? Is that how you imagine Celeborn sounding? Let me
Very
play it
much.
again. Let me play Celeborn.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I like it very much. It's a beautiful show. It's an amazing thing to be a part of.
Is
Guess
that
what? It
is-
sounds like he's ready to say the famous words, 8 that are here, yet 9 set forth from Rivendell. Where is Gandalf? For I very much wish to speak with him. He sounds just like that. Martin Sokas. I'm not kidding. Now, the only time I heard Martin Sokas actually sound like completely different actor was in Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, where he plays the very villainous, very bad guy. He is such a villain in that movie. Not good guy Celeborn. But I can hear JCB, Jamie Campbell Bower, instantly bringing that Martin Sokas energy that was in Fellowship. Jackson, am I crazy for thinking that? What do you think?
I can hear that. I really like that guy that played him in the trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a throwaway role. and Martin Sokas again went on to huge shows and everything. But Cliff, I don't know. We don't know if Celeborn is in the show. There's been no official confirmation that Celeborn is in the show.
Not
In
yet.
fact, according to
official.
season 1, episode 7, Celeborn is dead, and he should stay dead because Haladriel is the only thing that matters.
No, he should not stay dead. That was a red herring. You know these things. Television writers do this all the time.
That's a terrible idea
the
for a
point
red
is,
herring.
The point is that Professor Tolkien didn't do the red herring or the mystery boxing. Certainly not the way that these guys are doing. J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. But that's another discussion for another day.
Well, so you say he
Wait,
sounds
Jackson?
like Celeborn.
Jackson, are you with me or not?
I'm
the
here.
only mystery box that Tolkien ever did professionally in The Lord of the Rings was keeping Strider's identity a full secret to the reader until they got to a certain point at the Council of Elrond, and then the reader is brought in on the secret. Is that true? Am I right? That might be the only
that's
big
right, because I don't remember
mystery
it ever
box.
being. I don't ever remember it being made public before that.
Yeah. Even when they're wandering through the Midgewater marshes, when Strider is trying to lead the hobbits safely on the side of the road to avoid the Nazgul, the hobbits don't know, and therefore, the point of view of the reader, they do not yet know that Aragorn, who he really is.
And he
That's what I'm saying.
and they don't give any clues when they see like his broken sword in the inn or anything like that.
Yeah,
Right.
he does a good job at keeping that mystery, but he doesn't keep it for long because Council of Elrond is what, 3 or 4 chapters after we're first
No.
introduced.
Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Doesn't Aragorn identify himself to Frodo in the Prancing Pony and say, and he shows him the broken hilt of the sword and says, "By my life or death, if I can save you, I shall." So I think Aragorn does reveal himself way before Council of Elrond. Maybe I'm mistaken.
And does Gandalf say something about like after he leaves the mark on the stone to tell him that he was there?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Maybe there's something that he says about who Gandalf says something about Aragorn. I can't remember.
Well,
no.
as long as we're talking about
Okay.
revealing people, if you think he sounds like Celeborn, again, no one
He
has
does. Jamie
mentioned.
Campbell Bower sounds like Martin Sokas sounded. He really does. Why are you not willing to have Celeborn come on the show, Justin? Why? He's not dead.
Listen,
he's just off stage.
I was about to
He's
show you
off
a tweet.
stage.
I was about to show you a tweet,
my
but this
gosh.
post is from an account that no longer exists. They nuked the account. They nuked the account that said Jamie Campbell Bower only follows a few people, and he only follows Morfydd Clark Galadriel on Instagram. So can we read anything
Okay.
into the idea that Jamie Campbell Bower only follows Morfydd Clark on Instagram?
I mean, it's a pretty good stretch, but yeah. Now, what we really need
You're
to
so
talk
crazy,
about
man.
is the significance of all the stacked up deer.
Speaking of casting, Cliff, I want to get your reaction here, Cliff. According to
Yeah,
OK Magazine, Jeff Bezos is plans to launch his wife's acting career with a prominent role in the James Bond reboot. Would you be okay with Jeff Bezos putting his family in Rings of Power as well?
No, and if I were Barbara Broccoli and her family, I'd be pissed right now.
Well, she got $1 billion to walk away, so Barbara Broccoli's out of the picture.
No. I'm sure she's kicking herself in the teeth and saying to herself, "You know what? I protected these rights all of these years for so many decades from my father to keep the legacy going and to keep James Bond a franchise that worked.
That's what
and
the $1
breathed
billion
and
was
evolved."
for.
And you know what?
That's what the
No.
$1 billion was for.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure Barbara Broccoli is over it. It is
Yeah, she's over
nepotism.
it. She's got $1 billion
It's
in the
so
bank. I'd be over it too.
nepotism.
What is it? Give me one
Bad.
reason. Let me give you 1 billion reasons.
There you go. Okay.
You know how
Well,
much
there
Rings
you
of
know.
Power season 1 cost? $1 billion.
Billion.
He's got the money to put whoever he wants in the show. Would
How about
Jeff
that?
Bezos make himself a Nazgul?
Has he done that already? Has he done that already, though?
Is he a king of men that takes the
I
ring?
am. Oh, get away from me. That's nuts. You're nuts. Anonymous girl in the chat says, can she even act? And you know what? When nepotism is in the house, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, she was a newswoman here in the LA market. Cliff, our one final question, because we had a huge debate in Discord this weekend, and there isn't a consensus on this, and I want to get both of your opinions on this. Comic Book
what you got?
Resources, which is a reputable site, we link to them and they support us. CBR, they're an industry leader publication. 10 dark fantasy shows that everyone should watch at least once. Huge article for them by Carolyn Jenkins. Number one, Penny Dreadful. Great article. And they even linked you to where you can watch it. HBO's His Dark Materials. The Magicians. Incredible. True Blood. But I don't want to go through the whole list, but I want to tell you that Rings of Power is not on this list of 10 dark fantasy shows that everyone should want to watch.
That's because we have to talk about what litmus test you're using to define a dark fantasy show.
Well,
and I wanted to give you my take on that, Justin. The real dark fantasy of Game of Thrones might be the high watermark of what makes it dark, because there is so much ghoulishness. And I mean, the kind of stuff that Tolkien would not write. And those are the things, he did
it's
say
on
that
the
his
list.
work...
Game of Thrones is on the list.
Yeah, but Rings of Power is not. And that's because Professor Tolkien literally said his work was purged of the obscene. And that's why you don't have things happen in Lord of the Rings that happens on the regular.
What about Interview with the
R.
Vampire?
Martin.
Interview with the Vampire is an incredible TV show. If you guys aren't watching it, it is better than the movies, and I love it. But do you think... a lot of these are water cooler shows. Again, Jeff Bezos originally said, bring me the next Game of Thrones. And then they made the Tolkien estate deal for Rings of Power. The question is, does the Second Age, as Tolkien wrote it, is that dark fantasy? Because you keep telling me that the Second Age gets pretty freaking dark.
Yeah, it is true. It gets there. It really does get there. And Jackson probably knows as well as anyone here that by the time they get to Númenóreans building a temple to Morgoth and doing human sacrifices to Morgoth, because Sauron has exerted so much influence over Ar-Pharazôn and the faithless. I call them that because they're the opposite of the faithful Númenóreans. But when you get all that stuff going on, it gets really ghoulish. Yeah. Maybe,
and remember, at the end of this show, or at the end of Rings of Power, everybody dies. And the good guy that's supposed to save the day at the cracks of doom says, the ring is mine. So everybody fails and everybody dies brutally. Isn't this very dark fantasy? Jackson, your thoughts?
I think if I had to look at it, if you gave me the checklist of what it would be with the dark fantasy, if I was just looking at it by itself, maybe, because you would have things like darkness and death and the burial rites, and me, I probably shouldn't be thinking about the trilogy because that's where my brain is at. If I'm thinking about the show, I do understand on the flip side. I think ghoulish is a good word to be used in terms of like the White Walkers or the but at the same time I say things like that and then like, oh yeah, we have necromancers in Lord of the Rings, and so it's like, I don't know.
Ooh. Well, I'm talking about acts in George R.R. Martin where you have a brother and a sister going boinky boink in a royal family. And,
doesn't that happen in Numenor? There's incest in Numenor.
No, there's not. There's
in Rings of Power Season 2, Elrond kisses his sister or his mother-in-law,
his future mother-in-law. Justin, take a seat for a second. I'm telling you. Okay, take a seat for a second, brother. I love you. I love you. But wait a minute. just wait a minute. When I say ghoulishness, I do mean, Jackson, I do mean necromancy and that stuff, but I'm also including the poor character who gets castrated and tortured. And I'm talking about the incest and the crazy pants. I mean, the really crazy pants stuff that makes the story a little bit noticeably different
I got
than Tolkien's style of presenting those kinds of moments of violence or horror or things like that. So it is partly about dark magic and necromancy, but I also meant the word as in an act of ghoulish violence. Like
Yeah.
that is all George R.R. Martin loves to do. Keep in mind, folks, he is originally a TV writer before he was a novelist. That's his game
Yeah.
of Thrones, and that's what Martin loves to do. I've interviewed Mr. Martin. He's great, but he also knows distinctly and will admit in any interview what makes Professor Tolkien's approach completely different.
I
And
also-
so,
I also
what
try
is
to
the dark
picture those-
fantasy?
I
Yeah,
also
what
try
is
to
a dark
picture
fantasy?
those old interviews of Tolkien, the grainy film interviews of him and that guy off camera, the British guy asking him questions. I just think to myself, if that guy asked him, what do you think that do you think your stories are dark fantasy? And like what he would say about that.
Yeah. I mean, Justin might,
but he
you might have
he
a
is
point,
in
though.
one of those interviews. Tolkien says yes, his stories are about death.
But death
And
is
the
different than
pursuit-
darkness, I think.
Well, about death and the pursuit of deathlessness is what he really said. Use the full quote. All right, seriously. Death and the pursuit of deathlessness. And that includes using a magic ring in Lothlorien to slow down the progress of time and decay. That's, what
But
the elves
isn't
were
creating
doing.
a bunch of magic rings, 17 of them, handing off to the leaders of men and dwarves, and watching those men get corrupted into dark Nazgul, isn't that like dark fantasy 101?
Maybe so. Maybe so. It's, you know what? I wonder what the editors and the writers at CBR were actually thinking when they said, this is our definition of dark fantasy. And I wonder if Rings of Power seasons 3, 4, and 5 really want to, but they have to. They ultimately have to go to the darkest places that Numenorians did. And
They
it has
have
to get
to.
really,
It has
really
to.
bad.
This show
It
has to get dark.
It has to.
If it stays true
Otherwise,
to Tolkien.
Numenor wouldn't get to the point where they are so metaphysically and spiritually led astray, and they really are led astray by Sauron, that they deem it upon themselves that they will go and take their battleships and attack Valinor and try to claim some wild claim that they would have to their own immortality, as if they could even get it by attacking Valinor. And that ends with their ultimate destruction. There is the Atlantis mythology fulfilled, the way that Tolkien visualized his story of Atlantis is Numenor, but it does have to get to that point. You've got a point there. It has to get there eventually.
And
I don't know. What do you think, Jackson?
I feel like Justin really wants us to get on the side. I feel like I think it's kind of one of those things is I'll wait and see.
Well, here's the thing. Discord was very much split and very much against what I was saying that Tolkien stories are always about hope. And Harfoots are in the show. The best parts of the show are hopeful. The best parts of the movies are hopeful.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
like dark fantasy just beats you down into darkness and further darkness.
Yeah. Game of Thrones was not hopeful.
No,
Not at
and
all.
it got darker
Not at all.
physically by the end. By the last 5 episodes, you can't even see what's on screen. It's so dark.
Literally, it's really
guilty.
dark.
Guilty as charged, man. Yes, they are.
Listen,
That's funny.
my final point on
Okay.
this is on this dark fantasy list. The very first show that they mentioned was Penny Dreadful, and guess who directed and was an executive producer of that show? J.A. Bayona,
J.A. Bayona. Yes.
who
that's his
was
show.
hired to do the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power. So don't
That's
tell
right.
me that Rings of Power isn't supposed to be dark fantasy when they hired the top dark fantasy TV director to launch Rings of Power.
Okay. Well, I tell you
I
what.
feel like you just started getting an accent like you're some like 40s like Hollywood man.
So funny. It's like this all the time around here, Jackson.
I'm
It's like
trying
this
to
all the
build
time.
a studio here.
I tell you, there is a lot of potential for the Second Age stories, and which includes the downfall of Numenor, known as the Akalabeth in the back pages of the Silmarillion. There is a lot of potential for it to go really, really, really dark, but they're still not going to have the stuff that George R. Martin likes to write. That's
Yeah.
just not going to happen.
No.
So,
And one final programming note, folks. This coming weekend, a huge convention is happening in England. For the
Oh,
Love of
yes.
Fantasy is taking place
Yes.
this weekend. Let me bring it up on screen, folks. Look at this schedule that's relevant to your interests. On Sunday, these are the panels. Robot Chicken, David Anders, Tyler Hoechlin, Morfydd Clark gets her own
Morfydd
panel.
Clark. Yep, that's
And
awesome.
look at that. The day ends with Lord of the Rings. And if you can't read that 4:45 panel on Sunday, this Sunday, includes Sean Astin, Elijah Wood, Dominic Monaghan, Billy Boyd,
Wow.
Bruce Hopkins, Craig
Bruce
Parker,
Hopkins.
David
Wow.
Wenham, John Rhys Davies, and Sir Ian McKellen in a rare
Wow.
convention appearance.
That's
Wow.
a huge collection of wonderful cast members. That's huge. That's huge. Wow.
Cliff, you opened the show with that story of Ian McKellen
Wow.
going to Comic-Con for the first time, and then we're ending it with his return to Comic-Cons at this London Comic-Con this weekend.
An amazing return. I tell you what was so cool, because Ian was just about ready to arrive in New Zealand. He hadn't yet met his co-actors. He hadn't met them yet. So I imagine how lifted up he was by the screaming fans, the endless applause, because he got a standing ovation that lasted for 7 or 8 minutes, and the clamor would not die down. And I can only imagine Sir Ian was so uplifted, he went down there to that little isolated place where they were all by themselves, not really in touch with the fan base, and they didn't know how it was. And Ian probably uplifted all of the other crew and cast members by telling them how energized the fans were and what was coming, and they had no idea how big it was going to be at that time. So I love that story, and I love this, that Bruce Hopkins, our friend, and Craig Parker, Haldir, they're all showing up. They're getting everybody.
But
David
what does
Wenham's
it
gonna
say
be
that
there?
Morfydd
Wow.
Clark Galadriel gets her
Wow.
own panel? It's great.
Maybe
Huge.
maybe they couldn't pay the booking fees for the other people. I don't know.
Maybe they don't want to spoil anything.
But
Well, if you
she's
guys
going to
are
be on the spot, though.
if you
She'll be
guys
on the
go to
spot.
this convention and they have a Q&A with Morfydd Clark, make sure to ask her about her thoughts on Haladriel, because she has some thoughts.
Yes.
She has an opinion on these things. And
Don't we all?
and someone, Princess Toyner in the chat room is asking, who's the H in Haladriel? That's Halbrand. Of course it is. Sauron and Galadriel sitting in a tree.
Stop. You need to stop with the Halbrand stuff.
I'm telling
The
you,
whole
I'm
Halbrand-
telling you, Celebrian's father
The whole
father will
No.
be in question in this show.
You are
Is
crazy
Celebrian-
pants. You are crazy.
Is Celebrian half Maiar? Find out next season on Rings of
Oh my
Power
God.
season 3.
Oh my God. Yes. And please stop making out with your future mother-in-law. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an outstanding show. Jackson Robinson, did we entertain you, sir?
Yes. Yes.
That's good. You guys, you need to support his Kickstarter. Go there now. Do it now. We're telling you.
Huge
because the
Kickstarter.
National
It's
Park
already huge.
Jigsaw puzzle and deck of cards is amazeballs.
It
Look at
just
it go.
went up another. It just broke 28,000 as we on the
It's
screen.
happening.
It is
Hot
happening.
diggity dog. It's happening, yes.
This
well
is
played,
exciting,
sir.
and
Well
congrats
played.
on all your success, Jackson, and the fact that
Yeah.
you're approaching 50. And you teased
Yeah.
you teased your next card deck earlier in the
did.
show.
I did.
So that's huge.
Oh, that's right. Last one has a great thing in the live chat. Every time that you mention Haladriel, the new rule is that I get another Miyazaki minute. Justin, you have created a monster now, because every time you mention Haladriel, I get more minutes added to talk about Miyazaki. Okay? Jackson, this is an old running joke we've got going on. I'm sorry we dragged you into it,
No,
but
I got you. I got you.
and I do want to congratulate you as well, good sir. It looks like you've made such a refreshing change in the art and the style of what you got to work on for this, and it must have been very invigorating. And it's also lovely that it's come together with so much support from all the folks who are out there just loving what you're making. It's great.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And thank you for your time. You are very generous, good sir. You're so generous to come and join us and spend your time with us this evening. I want to thank you for all of that. Justin, thank you for putting the show together and pulling the strings behind the green curtain of the Emerald City. And now we say good night and good luck. But before we close the show, I want to recommend everybody join the Discord. We've talked about it every week, but please join our Discord conversations. It's free, it's well moderated, an exceptional community of people. And also you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky with, thewondering.net. Just take out the dot and it's the Wondering Net. Me personally, I'm at QuickBeam2000 on Instagram and Blue Sky. Where do we find you, Jackson Robinson? Would that be the AlanParsonsProject.com? No, I'm sorry. I had to make the joke. Sorry.
Yeah, I like it. Sadly, I got it.
You got it. No, we're old enough to know the band. So it's what's it? King's Cards Project?
KingsWildProject.com, and then my Instagram is Kingswild Project.
Got it. Perfection. And
we've got Brett. I just got a text message on the hotline. Our phone number is 53064 Frodo. That's really my phone number. And I just got a text message, Cliff.
Yeah.
Green Dragon Gossip.
What's happening?
DragonCon update. The Tolkien photo shoot on Friday has been moved to the afternoon. And there will be a big elf choir at DragonCon. Sheet music.
Oh, that's cool.
Sheet music will be provided. So they're encouraging all elf cosplayers to show up for the elf choir meetup, and you will sing songs like the elves do at DragonCon.
That sounds insane. That actually sounds super cool. I would love to be part of that. Isn't that like 2 weekends away?
It's pretty close. Isn't DragonCon Atlanta close to your neck of the woods, Jackson?
Yeah, Atlanta's, like an hour and a half from me.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're close. Labor Day is September 1st. So yeah, we're 2 weekends away from DragonCon. Just 2 weekends away. Isn't that amazing? Amazing, really. I had to mention Alan Parsons Project because of their famous album, The Turn of a Friendly Card. One of their most famous albums. So I know Jackson knew the reference. Thank you, sir. Had to do it.
Nerds.
Yeah, nerds.
He's had enough. Where's that big mug?
The elf. It says elf Pitch Perfect. Yeah, Anonymous Girl is right. They're going to do the elf version of Pitch Perfect with the a cappella singing. It'll be great. All the best to you, Jackson, and to all you lovely people following us in the chat. Thanks for being with us on another edition of Torn Tuesday. We'll be here again next week, same bat time and same bat channel, 5 p.m. on Tuesday. Bring all the mischief, and we'll try to manage it as best as we can. Good night, everybody. Jackson and Justin, what do you say? Any last words, Mr. Robinson?
I'm still on the fence on the dark fantasy.
Yeah, I wonder what their litmus test is.
I opened it up again. Sorry.
It's just me. You know what? Just say it, Cliff. We gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta go. Justin's crazy pants, but that's why we love him. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Good night and good luck, or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.